Once again to politics, Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of State Rex Tillerson triggered explosive reactions to this statement about the South China Sea during his nomination hearing on Wednesday.
We're going to have to send China a clear signal that first, the island building stops, and second, your access to those islands is also not going to be allowed. They're taking territory or control or declaring control of territories that are not rightfully China's.
The remark is generating some major concerns about a future confrontation between the U.S. and China. Joining me now, Forbes columnist Gordon Chang. Welcome to you, Gordon. How serious is this really? I mean, are these headlines exaggerating the potential ramifications or not?
No, I don't think they're exaggerations, because there has been a conflict and a struggle, sometimes low-key, sometimes not, in the South China Sea for more than 2 decades. And this administration and the one before it has tried to manage it, but China is now going in really bad directions. And so Tillerson, or whoever is the next Secretary of State, is going to have to deal with a challenge that is going to get bigger and bigger all the time, especially the seizure of Scarborough Shoal in early 2012 is something that is going to have to be reversed if we're going to maintain peace and stability in the region.
But Gordon, a lot of these headlines have the word war in them. That's not an over-exaggeration?
No, that's not an exaggeration. The Chinese have been very clear that they want to control 85% of the South China Sea. They see it as a territorial water. And that is international water, according to the United States and everybody else. For more than 2 centuries, the United States has defended freedom of navigation, and China threatens it. China actually seized a portion of the Philippines, as I mentioned. This is serious because at some point, the international community is going to have to confront this. This is sort of like Crimea in eastern Ukraine. The issues are a little bit different, but nonetheless, the principles are the same.
So what does this look like? What is a signal that's strong enough from the U.S. to disallow China from these islands?
It's probably going to have to be some sort of economic sanctions or whatever. It's going to have to be an increased U.S. Navy presence in the South China Sea. China's vessels have crowded that critical body of water where there's $5.3 trillion of commerce each and every year. U.S. Navy is rarely to be seen. And this has given the Chinese the idea that they can control this. China's neighbors are increasingly concerned, not only the ones in the South China Sea, but also Japan and India, which are now taking an interest in that body of water, even though they are not contiguous states. So this is becoming a region-wide interest for big nations and the United States as well as China.
Do we have any idea where Donald Trump stands on Rex Tillerson's positions and how far he'd be willing to take it?
I don't know. I don't think that Trump has really thought through all the implications of this, because they are as serious as the headlines suggest. I think Trump is more focused in on the trade issues with China. South China Sea, though, is something that could hijack trade and the other relationships we have with China, because for many countries in the region, they think it's very important. They could elevate the issue. And of course, China itself could do something provocative that has to have a response.
And you've got to wonder if this might play into this, because as you know, the president-elect himself is drawing ire from China after telling the Wall Street Journal in an interview Friday, the quote reads, "Everything is under negotiation, including one China." Well, China's foreign ministry swiftly responded, saying that one China principle is non-negotiable. Is there a reason to be concerned about the entire trajectory of the U.S. relationship with China under a Trump presidency?
Well, either under a Trump presidency or if Secretary Clinton had won, we were going to see a much different posture with regard to China. Under Trump, you know, we're seeing this in 140 characters at a time. Under President Clinton, it would have been, I think, under interagency review, and we would have seen long statements. But nonetheless, American policy towards China was unsustainable, given what Beijing has done recently, especially over this century. And so there was going to be a change. And I think that it's important that we recognize that these issues are critical, and at some point we can no longer avoid them. We can no longer manage a deteriorating situation.
All right. Sounds like we all better buckle up. Gordon Chan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.
Protecting civil and voting rights. We're going to ask a key voice in the modern movement whether she believes the new Congress and the next president are listening to their concerns.